Oh man, James is here. There isn't here, and it's my birthday episode. This is gonna be a weird one. I already can't speak. I'm so happy about it. Let's start the show.
Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Fake. We can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, flying solo tonight, as I am back here once again to review tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. And we start in the biggest news of the evening, where following Marcus Briscoe's TNT title defense, he threw out his open challenge for Saturday, claiming that he's not going to back off from any challengers, and he will be having, obviously, as I said, a challenge on Saturday on Collision. So he then says that he's tired of the Don Callis family, and anybody but a member of the Don Callis family can come and challenge him. So he lays down the challenge, lights go off, and on the Tron, a large heart appears like X-ray style, and it beats for a minute or so, and then it goes away. Screen goes black again, and then some lights pop up behind the middle portion, and then you get Psycho and Killer on the two sides, and it is revealed that the opponent will be Tommaso Ciampa as he makes his AEW debut following the, let's say, lapsing of his contract from WWE. So he comes down to the ring and to much fanfare, and after celebrating a bit, goes nose to nose with Briscoe. The two talk a little bit. Briscoe raises the title. Ciampa points at it, says he's going to take the title Saturday. And eventually, the two keep staring each other down until Ciampa just like weirdly kisses Briscoe on the cheek and then hops out of the ring and goes up onto the announce desk to start celebrating with the fans and hype up the fact that he is now indeed All Elite, as Tony Khan gave him a graphic a little bit later. This is obviously a big deal. You know, it was Ciampa left WWE to, I don't want to say much fanfare, but a lot of people were speculating what he was going to do next, whether it was go to AEW, whether it was to go to TNA, something I think we discussed here on the pod a couple of weeks ago when his contract did indeed expire. And a lot of people thought he was going to end up in the Don Callis family. Now, I guess that can remain to be seen depending on what happens on Saturday. But for now, he is not, and he's going straight after Mark Briscoe in what should be a very interesting matchup and something that is fairly fresh. Now, I did a little bit of research before I hopped on here because this is usually James's department when it comes to, 2010s and early 2000 or late 2000s Ring of Honor and indie stuff. But I did some poking around about Briscoe and Ciampa's history, and they frankly don't really have much. Checking on Cage Match, they only had 2 matches together back in 2013. Both of them in November, funny enough. One of them was a singles match, and the other one was a 3-way match with Jay Lethal. So despite the fact they were swimming in a lot of the same ponds, whether that was Ring of Honor or I would imagine PWG a bit as well, they don't have much history together. So at least in the ring. So I'm very excited to see this matchup. It's a really, really good matchup. It's something that I imagine a lot of indie fans are very excited for. I'm sure when James eventually finds out that this happened, that because he is on vacation, he's going to be super excited to watch this, and he's going to be super excited to see what Ciampa does here in AEW. I know I am. It's going to be nice to see him away from main roster WWE, and hopefully we can get back to that feeling we had of him when he was NXT, whether he was with Gargano or not. There was just a certain feeling with him because they made him feel big in NXT, and I feel like just because of his stature, that didn't really happen as much on the main roster. and despite his talent, and I think Tony respects his talent a lot. So I think he will be used very well here in AEW, and I'm hyped to see how all of that goes. As we head into the comments, say hello to everybody. What's going on, Maria? Nice to see you as always. This show was a lot of fun. I thought the debut was a really nice exclamation point. I know it didn't end the show, but it was a good exclamation point on the entire episode tonight. We say hello to you, Know It, as well. What's going on? No matter how much that I might hate you guys, I'll still vote for you first ballot Hall of Fame. Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to Bill Belichick. That made me laugh my ass off yesterday for a good 20 minutes because that was ridiculous and I can't believe it happened, but fuck the Patriots. Let's see. We say hello to Eric, who's reporting that Doyle is apparently done, but you say everyone's done for a bunch of reasons. So if he has an injury I haven't read about, because, I've been setting up the show, let me know and cite your sources. But I'll keep an eye out for that. We say hello to Fernando. What's going on, dude? This was a fire Dynamite. I thought so. Where's Bill? He's hiding with his girlfriend. Fernando thought that Ciampa might end up in TNA and New Japan. I would be really excited to see him in New Japan. Obviously, with the talent relationship that AEW and New Japan has, hopefully he can get over there and do something cool. Maybe Best of Super Juniors if he qualifies. I think he might. So maybe he could do that. Maybe he could do, he could do something else over there too. There's a lot of cool stuff I think he can do in New Japan. I do think that if Ciampa had gone to TNA, it would have been interesting because I think he would have been a pretty big fish in a much smaller pond. But he feels that AEW is the best spot for him right now, and I'm excited to have him on the AEW roster myself. We say hi to Neos. What's going on? Saying that the Psycho Killer is now the Elite. Yes, and we are excited for that. And then we say hi to Grant here, saying that Ciampa's debut was great. Hope he doesn't fall too deep into the mid-card because I can think of so many great matchups here with the top AEW guys. And, yeah, I can see him getting some shots with some of the top-level dudes, but I think Briscoe is a great starting point for him because as much as I like him, I don't know if he's a guy you can bring in and immediately have go for the AEW championship, especially with just how busy that scene is at the moment. So bringing him into the TNT level, TNT championship level, I think is a great move there. It immediately puts him on the map. It immediately gives him a title shot with this open challenge. Heck, I even think there's an opportunity he might win on Saturday, because of who he is. And Briscoe has had a solid run. And sometimes you get caught doing these open challenges, when you're not, I don't want to say not really prepared for a guy, considering, it's Wednesday and he now knows who he's facing on Saturday. But there is an honest chance that they just shoot Ciampa straight to being the TNT champion. And I think that would be really, really cool. And then, seeing some of the other stuff we saw tonight with the Don Callis family, Fletcher wants another shot at that title. And if Ciampa ends up winning, Fletcher can do that. So I also think Fletcher, I hope they didn't forget about this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I thought Fletcher lost the opportunity to go for the TNT championship after losing to Briscoe the most recent time. I could be wrong. So if they do want to put Kyle back in the TNT picture, I do think Ciampa would actually need to win on Saturday. And that would make things really, really interesting. I'd also love to see him. Speedball Mike Bailey versus him is a match that immediately comes to my mind. That would be really cool. And obviously, going up against guys like Kenny and everything would be dope as hell. And heck, I don't know if you ever had a match with Samoa Joe in NXT, but I would run that once Joe gets healthy. Hopefully he does soon. We're sending our best wishes over to him because, he's also a big part of the main event scene right now. And having him out is probably throwing a real wrench into Tony's plans at the moment. We say hello to Kevin. What's going on, dude? Saying Tony needs to stop signing more talent. There's not enough TV time for everybody. And that is a yes and a no thing. I think, I agree with you that there is a lot of talent and he only really has 4 hours a week on Turner Broadcasting to get everybody in, plus I guess the hour or so of Ring of Honor every week, if you even want to count that. But I do think that having a lot of people, or at least as many as Tony does allow him to occasionally pull people back, maybe even take them off TV for a little while, not to punish them, but to give them time off, let them, let their bodies heal, and also to allow the fans to miss those people so that they don't really cool off too much and they're able to stay hot for longer and, really get good pops upon their returns and keep them fresh is what I was looking for. So it's a balancing act, Kevin. I think Tony Khan actually does it pretty well. I'm going to go to the main event here as well, just because I thought this was a really good match and I really want to talk about it here near the top of the show. So let's head to Swerve Strickland versus Andrade El Ídolo. Andrade undefeated since he has returned to AEW against obviously a red hot Swerve Strickland, who has also not been pinned since he has come back from his injury. And I do believe his lone loss is in the four-way match for the AEW World Championship that we had at World's End. But as we all know, he did not take the pin there. Now, this match also is leading to a match with Kenny Omega next week. And the winner of that match next week gets a shot at the title at Revolution. So we have, with those stakes and that carny piece of shit, Don Callis on commentary, we ended up getting a very, very good match. And this is one of those things where I forgot how good Andrade is just because I haven't seen him in a while. And it reminded me how good he looked in that C2 before he left to go back to WWE. This dude just has it in the ring. And apparently has it while he's walking around the ring, too, because right before the commercial break, he actually went over to a very attractive woman to take a selfie with her. And then she ended up kissing a napkin to give to him, leaving the lipstick impression on it. So honestly, between that and having his finisher be called the DM, is Andrade's new gimmick just that he's really horny now? That's what it kind of feels like. Notes on things that happened in this match. Swerve went for the pile driver on the barricade again, like he did to Kevin Knight last week. But Andrade was actually able to counter it, with a back body drop. Unfortunately for Andrade, he paid the price because as he did so, he slipped and landed right on his huevos. So that looked like it hurt. I don't know if he did that on purpose or he did that for real. And I couldn't believe commentary missed it. It took Don realizing, and they showed the replay again. Excalibur was like, oh, man, you could hear the pain or the understanding of the pain that Excalibur and the other men had on that desk had, because that looked like it hurt a lot. A little bit later in the match, we also had just another note, that fake pump kick into the spinning back elbow Andrade does is a thing of beauty. And I love when he hits it. I forgot how good it is when he hits it with somebody who's as good as Swerve, because Swerve sold that thing like he got shot and then was barely able to kick out of a 1 count. That also then quickly thereafter, as Andrade was trying to capitalize on that, Swerve was able to get it together and he hit another midair house call like he did last week tonight, because watching Swerve just pick dudes out of midair with that kick is crazy. Andrade was able to kick out of that as well. A little bit later, Andrade was able to hit a big reverse Rana off the top rope, sending Swerve into the corner where Andrade hit the knees, and then he hit the pump handle DDT, but Swerve kicked out of that. Andrade then went for the DM, but Swerve got in a jackknife pin to counter, and Andrade was forced to kick. Swerve then went for big pressure, but Andrade also countered with a roll-up himself, and Swerve was also forced to kick. As Swerve comes out of that, he is able to step up, and because Andrade had to roll backwards in order to deal with the Swerve's kick out, and that gave Swerve the space to come up and hit another house call, and Swerve again tried to follow up with big pressure. However, Andrade was able to grab referee Aubrey Edwards' hand, and she is forced to pull it away, and she did with such force that she spun around as she did so. That allowed Andrade to hit Swerve with a no-look low blow with the kick, and he followed that up with the DM to pin Swerve, and now he moves on to face Kenny Omega next week for a shot at the AEW World Championship. So, like I said, really, really good match. These twos are just great. I mean, we know how good Swerve is. And like I said, this is the exact reminder I needed of how good Andrade is in the ring, because he's the generational bag getter. Don't get me wrong, but he is also a generationally good fucking wrestler. And watching these two guys go at it together was just unbelievable wrestling to watch. So I was thrilled that we got this match. I love watching it, and I had a lot of fun. To some comments here. I think we are continuing to talk about Kevin's earlier comment about Tony not signing everybody, because Maria disagrees with Kevin, saying that Tony needs to keep signing talent to keep the bench deep. Now, Kevin countering with a pretty decent point. Do you remember the last time Camille wrestled on AEW TV? And Maria then said that she's going to be his that was about the girl in the crowd. But yeah, I think you got a good point there, Kevin. There was something with Camille I think happened backstage. I don't think that was a matter of Tony not being able to find TV time for her. I think something actually separately happened. What Maria's comment was responding to was, pointing out that she thinks that the person in the crowd, the woman in the crowd, was giving Andrade her number. And yes, you are right. I failed to mention that's what it was. And Maria thinks that she's going to be his manager. She was also on Collision and did the same thing. I kind of picked up on the fact that this wasn't the first time being Andrade had done this. It certainly looked like they were familiar with each other. And while I did miss Collision, I did appreciate the fact that you were able to kind of pick up on that pretty easily. Kris mentioning the Sisters of Sin. Hi, Kris. Good to see you. Yeah, they were on the show a little bit, but due to the fact that they did not interfere in the title match between Thekla and Kris Statlander, which we'll talk about later, they are getting a shot at the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships. So you got that going for you there. James also mentioning that, hey, James, we got the Psycho Killer. Yep, we are very excited about that, and very excited about his upcoming match with Mark Briscoe. So just to round out the end of the show here, we will head backstage after Andrade's match for an interview with MJF, where Renee asked him about his Eliminator match with Brody King next week, which was set up earlier in the show. And he says that it just absolutely destroyed Brody here. If that oversized bag of milk with Sharpie written all over him thinks he can beat the world champion, he has another thing coming. Max then gets interrupted by Kenny Omega, who apologizes for his lack of manners, saying he should have said hello earlier. As for Kenny, he says it is one more match and one more win, and then the two of them will be facing off at Revolution. So here's to a great title match coming up next month. And Kenny offers to shake MJF's hand, but instead MJF blows him off and walks away. As he is leaving, MJF then runs into Andrade, who is coming backstage after his match. And Andrade says that he wants to slap Max right now, which after MJF's clapback on Twitter, I probably would too. But Andrade restrains himself, saying first he wants the championship. MJF blows off him as well and heads to his car outside. But when he opens the door, he is immediately slammed shut by one Hangman Adam Page. Hangman doesn't really say anything. He just kind of angrily glares at Max, and he kind of cowers a bit, and then eventually opens the door again, pushing past Page to get into the car as he tells the driver, just drive. Max's truck then peels off into the parking lot, and Hangman turns back around, and he has a serious scowl on his face. And that is how we ended Dynamite. So MJF just got friggin' people everywhere coming at him on all sides. And this was a very good visual representation of something we discussed last week, where the title scene right now is very crowded, which is a good thing. But it feels a lot like it did at the end of MJF's last title run, where there were so many people coming at him from so many different sides, and he ended up breaking down because he was not only defending the World Championship, but he was also defending the ROH Tag Team titles as well. And at a certain point, doing it single-handedly because Adam Cole had snapped his ankle in half. So it's a very interesting dynamic to see it at the start of his championship reign as opposed to the end of it, to see him be able to be perhaps more conniving and ruthless, considering he is a full-blown heel this time instead of the face he was at the end of his title run last time. And he's also healthy and is able to defend against these guys, at least in a much more, I guess, vigorous manner, for lack of a better word. And, he's more or less at 100% instead of doing it with lingering issues all throughout his body. So really cool dynamic, really fun watching all of these guys vie for the top title in the company. Let's see. We just have everyone saying hi to James. It mentioned saying stacking the bench work for Nick Saban, and Bama won a lot of championships. Yes. Fuck Bama too, but yes. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. And let's see. It's saying, who would figure Hangman had a side job as a doorman? Good question. All right, let's head back to the top of the show here, because we started off with a very quick match, which saw Kenny Omega face off against Rocky Romero. This ended in like 3 minutes, to the point where I started the show a little late, and I started just to see like what happened at the beginning. And by the time I rewound back to where I was, the match had ended already. So basically, this match ended because Rocky got cocky and did not mean to rhyme that. And he went over and did the sliding on his knees goal celebration in the corner, but that turned his back to Kenny Omega. So Kenny just came running out of the opposite corner and just nailed Rocky in the back of the head with a V-trigger. Kenny then hit a Snapdragon suplex, another V-trigger in the ropes, and then hit a one-winged angel for the win. So I was a little surprised they did Rocky like that. I love Rocky a lot. I know he can have a much better match, but this was needed to just set up for what happened after. And while Kris was calling it a waste of time, it was one of those matches where, like I said, it wasn't really for the match. It was nice for Kenny to get his full-blown entrance. It was nice for the crowd to see him wrestle, but it was more to just set up what happened next and give Kenny another domino in the on the Don Callis family to knock over. As I mentioned, this was all to set up what happened next. So we got Kenny being interviewed by Tony Schiavone in the ring afterwards. And Tony set up all the stipulations I mentioned before about the winner of Swerve and Andrade going on to face Kenny next week, and then the winner of that going on to face MJF at Revolution. So after laying all of that down, Kenny starts off by repeating what he said last week, saying that he hasn't felt this good in years. AEW is where the best wrestle, and he wouldn't stake his name if he didn't think he was near the top of that list. So whether it's somebody he hates or somebody he loves, this is just business, as he is going to go on to become AEW World Champion once again. That then leads to the music of Hangman Adam Page hitting, and he comes down to the ring with a microphone, and he says that even after all these years, he would much rather be fighting with Kenny than against him. But with the AEW World Championship on the line, it looks like he is going to have to do just that. Hangman admits that when he was champion, he looked past Samoa Joe to the defenses he thought he was going to have against guys like Kenny, but then because of Hook and a kick to the balls from MJF, he lost his title and his chance to regain it. However, this time is different because as much fire and as much passion that Kenny has, he is not going to be the next world champion, nor is Andrade, nor is Swerve. The next champion is going to be Hangman Adam Page. And that prompts Swerve Strickland music to hit, and he comes down and he says that when he came back for an AEW World Championship. And he reminds us, as I mentioned earlier, that he hasn't been pinned since he's been back. He's going to get that world championship. And as the most dangerous man in AEW, he doesn't care who he has to stomp out or ravage to get it, because it can be anybody. And as he repeats the word anybody, he gets nose to nose with Kenny. Omega says that he thinks he's pretty good at reading the room, and he thinks that there is some animosity between himself and Swerve. And while he and Hangman are looking to win the title, Swerve seems like he's not just looking to win the title, but also looking for a fight. To which Swerve replies, "More than you know." As the two stare each other down, that carny piece of shit Don Callis comes out, and he tells Swerve that he should enjoy his unbeaten streak while he still can, because Andrade is going to defeat him tonight. Which he did. Good call there, Don. And then, after he beats Swerve, Andrade is going to come for Kenny. And as for Hangman, Don has something special in store for him. And he is going to remind all three of these guys who runs the show after the three of them try to go out and do business without him. Kenny then says that Don keeps talking about what they have to worry about, when maybe Don should stick to worrying about himself. And with that, Kenny drops the mic, and he just makes a beeline for Don, who sprints to the back. And then Hangman and Swerve kind of look at each other, and they start to head to the back as well. So good stuff from these guys. Like I said, this was really the main segment to start the show. The match was kind of just a teaser to set it all up. And we had these three guys in the ring before. Samoa Joe was a part of the equation. Obviously, as I mentioned, he got hurt, so he's not at the moment. But you have Andrade as a part of the equation too, which is what allowed Don to step in here. And I just think we're, furthering this whole, the vultures are circling MJF, but they're also all circling each other. And they're all going to have to fight to see, who's the biggest and who gets first crack at MJF. And I think this did a really good job of continuing that storyline and help set it up, especially after a week last week where a lot of it was in the ring in terms of a lot of those guys getting big wins last week to help amplify their case to become the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. This moved a lot of things forward storyline wise, and I think it did a good job in doing that. All right. After this, we went to a quick promo package from the Cosmic Babes of Wrath with Statlander talking shit about Thekla before their title match tonight, and Willow Nightingale offering a tag team title match to the Sisters of Sin if they agree to not interfere in the match. And also in response to Thekla breaking out the Live Long and Prosper last week, Statlander says live short and die, which I thought was a real good one. Fernando mentioning the main event picture is very stacked, and it is. And like I mentioned, I think it's awesome. I talked about it last week, where sometimes, having just the one lineal challenger or two lineal challengers for the championship, and everyone's just kind of, lined up, and we know who's going for the title. It's a good storytelling tactic when it comes to wrestling, but being able to mix it up like this and challengers coming from all sides at the champion, we don't know who's going to get that next title shot. I think it's a really good storytelling tactic as well. And it really allows you to mix things up, keep the fans on their toes, and just allows you to be really creative with stuff. And you get all of these like little rivalries while you're having the rivalry with the champion. Following that promo package, we went to our second match of the evening, and frankly, our first real one, where Jon Moxley had a Continental Championship Eliminator match against the Bang Bang Gang's Ace Austin. Just to jump to the end here, as Austin went in for the fold, which is his finishing move, Moxley hit a counter cutter, it's hard to say, out of nowhere, and he was able to follow that up with a Death Rider for the win. Then after the match, Konosuke Takeshita came out and went face-to-face with Moxley, pointing at the title. This was obviously after Moxley called him out via Don last week. Well, Don was on commentary. Takeshita and Moxley then jaw for a bit before Takeshita does the belt gesture and starts to leave, rolling out of the ring. As he does that, Davis and Doyle come in from behind and use the opportunity to take out Moxley, with Davis sending Mox into a Doyle right hand that just lays Mox out. So, yeah, that was interesting. I was surprised they used Davis and Doyle in this situation, considering they did have a tag title match later in the night. But honestly, it really helped line them up for, I'll say, for the match later, just because it showed what power they had and how strong they are. And just another way to help build this new tag team, taking out one of the top guys in AEW and a champion to boot. As for the match, I thought it was really good. It was nice to see Ace get this opportunity. He's really, really good. We're big fans of him here on the pod. We met him once back when he was still in TNA, throwing up the 2 sweets. And I really enjoy watching him. So I was glad he was able to get the exposure, or the bigger amount of exposure here on Dynamite, as opposed to being on Collision, where he still gets a good amount of TV time and stuff. But obviously the numbers are much bigger here on Wednesdays. The other thing I really liked about this match is I think we really need to start talking about Mox's cutter more. It is really, really good. And he has managed to, I don't want to say get to Randy Orton levels of using it, but he's getting really creative in how he's hitting it and from where he's hitting it and when he's hitting it, and just kind of how out of nowhere it's getting. It's hard not to compare it to Randy Orton's, but it's really, really fun to watch. And Mox uses it perfectly, and it's such interesting times to help turn the tide of a match a lot for him. So that has been a nice thing to watch as Moxley has gone through the C2 and now into this championship run. I would say thank you, Mr. Santi, and Papa G as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in and checking out the show here tonight. Hope you guys are enjoying your break. All right. After this, we had another match, and I screwed up the thing. It's okay. And it was Mark Briscoe versus El Clon for the TNT Championship. First time I think I've really seen El Clon, which is surprising. I'd obviously seen him make his debut and stuff, but I just don't really remember watching him in a singles match. I probably saw him on Collision, and I'm just blanking. But this is I think my first real exposure to him, and it was really good. He had a counter to the J Driller towards the end of this match, which I just did not understand. I had to watch it 3 times back, because he somehow used his shoulder to pop up as Mark was trying to drive his head into the ground, and he just popped up like it was a pogo stick, and he was fine. And I was like, did he just use his head to counter this? But I looked at it, and he was able to use his shoulder, and I don't know how the hell he did it, but he did, and it looked awesome. So I am not going to complain that he did it. I'm going to have to rewatch it 10 times to try to figure out the physics of how he did it. But wow, it looked awesome. Anyway, after he was able to counter that, he tried to get in this very convoluted driver Excalibur call that he was just grabbing all different parts of Briscoe's body. But Briscoe was able to hit some back elbows to Clon's head and fight his way out of it. After a little more back and forth, Clon got Briscoe up on his shoulders and went for Hologram's portal bomb. But Briscoe was able to counter that as well, and he stacked Clon up, holding him down for the 3 count to defend his title. So, really good match. It's been interesting watching Briscoe continue to fight different members of the Don Callis family. But much like he said after this match before Ciampa debuted, it's time. We're tired of it. He's tired of it. So I am hoping that this is kind of the end with Briscoe and the family. and that we can move on from here. And like I said at the top of the show, there's a chance Ciampa wins this title, which I would be pretty cool with. I really hope that it doesn't lead to him winning the title and then bringing it to the Don Callis family. I think that would be a pretty lame payoff. Like I said, I think we're all kind of done with Mark facing off against the family. So hopefully this is the end of that. But if it is, good way for it to end. Nice full circle thing. And should he move on and defeat Ciampa on Saturday, I hope Briscoe is able to get a new crop, of challengers for his TNT title. Speaking of the Don Callis family, after Ciampa debuted, we went backstage with Kyle Fletcher, who had been asked there by Kazuchika Okada, as he wanted to talk to Kyle. And he says that a few weeks ago, Kyle had, I believe, talked to Don, or said something that somebody needs to say something to Okada about what he did at World's End. Okada says he has to tell Kyle something first, and then it's that when he took the screwdriver at World's End, he wasn't thinking clearly. He was only thinking about winning and then going on and hopefully facing Fletcher in the finals, which is why he is very sorry about what he did. Fletcher says that after World's End, he was very upset and mad at Okada, but it takes a big man to come over and apologize, so he accepts Okada's apology, and the two shake hands. I gotta say, after a long night on my birthday, doing a solo is killing my voice if y'all can't hear it, but I'm powering through just for you guys. After commercial, we came back with the AEW World Champion MJF, who comes down to the ring and immediately shits on the crowd in Texas, asking Taz why they have to work in a dump like this. And obviously this just pops Taz. And he's like, I don't know, Max. It's nonsense. Side note, having Taz back on commentary tonight was great. And he almost got me to choke to death during the Women's World Championship match twice in about 10 seconds. Because Thekla did that thing where she like dropped down onto the top turnbuckle, and he was like, "That's a move a man can't do." And he's like Yambag Jones, and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And then Thekla drove off the top rope, and he just said something else. I was like, "Oh yeah," he goes, I hope she eats Shivani." And I was just like, I have missed this man, so it's really nice having Taz back. Anyway. After Max talks to him, he starts to go and speak about whatever, but he is immediately interrupted by Brody King's music. And he comes out with MJF immediately calling for Brody's music to be cut off. He then starts to berate Brody, saying he doesn't understand how Brody didn't hear him last week with those big ears. And then Brody keeps coming to the ring, so Max starts to bail out. But he comes back when Brody makes it clear that he's going to, as Max said, be professional. MJF again repeats that he made it clear last week that Brody is not going to get a title shot unless he beats someone. And now Brody is following him around like a puppy dog. It's the same way that Brody followed around Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews, making cracks at both of them during the process, saying he thought it was really cool how those guys used to scare everybody and be spooky by turning the lights off. And I made fun of Buddy by saying he had one of the most intimidating names in all of wrestling, and then asked how his ankle was doing. MJF then moves on to say now Brody follows around a complete loser in Bandito, and that actually gives Max an idea. Maybe Brody should follow him around. You know, he could use a big, talented guy around him to protect him. He would pay Brody handsomely as long as Brody changes his aesthetics. And then Max had a great line here that actually cracked Brody up. And I have it, quote, "Never in my life have I met a liberal man that looks more like a Nazi," end quote. And Brody just started laughing his ass off. And I was a little surprised that they let MJF call someone or say someone looks like a Nazi, considering everything else going right now in the world, or at least here in America. So I was a little shocked, but it was a good line, and I guess Brody liked it because he was laughing his ass off. Anyway, MJF goes on to say that the dream of taking of Brody taking the title off of him is just that, a dream. And it's important for Brody to realize that in order to win the AEW championship, you have to be a leader like him, not a follower like Brody has always been. King responds that he's never had to follow anybody in his life, and what he had were called friends, something Max has clearly never had. But to MJF's point, Brody does need to get some credible wins to get his title shot, so he sat down with Tony Khan, and they found the perfect opponent for Brody to get ready for that title shot. MJF. And then Brody tells a shocked Max that he has an Eliminator match next week, and when he wins it, he will get a title shot at Grand Slam Australia. So, very excited for this next week. I'm very curious to see what they do here, because the fact that they brought up Grand Slam Australia really, really makes me wonder how they're going to play this. Because I feel like Brody versus Max would do very well down there. If Buddy's ankle is okay, maybe he comes back and something happens with that. Maybe he costs Brody the championship. Maybe he helps or tries to help Brody. Who knows? There's a possibility with Buddy there. But it also then leads me to think that MJF's going to lose a match here. And while we've seen champions in AEW lose matches, it would be very, very interesting to see the AEW World Champion lose a match in a one-on-one situation, especially if it is clean. So, heck, maybe Buddy comes back next week and helps Brody win, and then maybe turns on him in Australia. Who knows? I don't even know if he's healthy. I really don't. But I'm very curious to see what happens with that match next week, because Brody versus MJF at Grand Slam Australia does seem like a match Tony would book for that show. And Grand Slam Australia was great last year, so running it back this year, seeing what they end up booking for it should be a lot of fun. Some comments here. It's saying it's your birthday. Should James not be podcasting and you be off? Well, I will admit, my birthday was yesterday. So I turned 33 yesterday. God help me. And that's why I'm back here today. And I knew James was going to be on vacation this week, so it's fine. I got my partying in. I'll party again on Saturday, assuming we don't get more snow here in the Northeast. And I'll be fine, because I very clearly need a recovery day or two here. And what's in the cup? It's what it always is. It is just good old plain salsa. Okay. Keeping things rolling. After we got through with that segment, we got a quick promo package from the Young Bucks. And they're just, putting the tag team division on notice, saying they're getting back to what made the Young Bucks, as they invite the tag team division to a super kick party. Following that, we got our AEW Women's World Championship match between Kris Statlander and Thekla. As I mentioned, the Sisters of Sin would get a women's tag title shot if they did not interfere. And while they came out with Thekla originally for her entrance, they did go to the back as she made her way down the ramp, and they ended up not interfering in the match, which I thought was it was cool. I just like the fact that there wasn't interference in this, and we got a straight up match between these two women because they both rock. And obviously, very smart by the Sisters of Sin to take the tag title match. Just a quick note on the timing of this match. Personally, I think an AEW Women's World Championship match should be main eventing Dynamite. Now, I know we had a pretty big match at the end, and I understand why they did it now in retrospect with MJF and everything that happened, but I don't know, man. I feel like a world title shot is bigger than a men's singles match, even if that singles match does have some title implications. This is the actual title. Now, putting them on at the top of the hour or fairly close to it. I guess, it's a much better slot than, say, weirdly enough, the AEW World Tag Team Championships got, where they were pretty much in the time slot of death. But still would have liked to see this main event. I think if you have a world title match on the show, it should be main eventing the show. Just my opinion. Anyway, to jump to the end of this, as Statlander came in for a lariat, Thekla was able to duck it by getting into the spider pose, and Stat went flying into the turnbuckles, forearm first. Thekla then scrambled into the opposite corner to set up again for the spear, something she had hit a bit earlier in the match. But when she went for it, Statlander was able to catch her with a gut wrench and then hit a babe with the power bomb. Shout out to Willow Nightingale. Statlander immediately followed that up with Saturday Night Fever and pinned Thekla to retain her title. And after the match, Willow and Harley came down to celebrate. And then we saw Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford come out on the stage and stare the three women down, which is intriguing because there's a lot of different possibilities and directions that could go. In the meantime, though, this match ruled. I probably would have given it match of the night if not for the main event, but these women, they didn't really hold anything back. And I would have loved to see what this could have done with the amount of time they probably would have gotten at a pay-per-view. But for what they were given, I thought they absolutely killed it. This was incredibly hard hitting. It was actually a lot more quickly paced than you would expect for a match that hit this hard. And yeah, they brought it. I loved everything they did in this match tonight. So good job by them. The women continue to prove that when you give them high profile slots, they will continue to prove that they deserve them. And so keep doing it, Tony. Keep giving this women's division everything you can, because they are, I think, one of the best in the world right now. So keep giving it to me, yeah. Pause. After this, we went backstage with the Don Callis family. So it was the carny piece of shit Don Callis, flanked by Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita. And Don says that the family has been in recruitment mode lately. So now it is time for them to finally mobilize. Thank God, Don. How many more people can you get? And go out and get all of the gold. Got Andrade going after the AEW World Championship, and he will get one step closer to it after beating Swerve tonight. Okada already has the International Championship, so he's good there. As for Takeshita, he's made it clear he's going for the Continental Championship, and he already has that win over Moxley. But Don thinks that Takeshita is missing something, and he gives him some advice, saying that he thinks that Takeshita needs to forgive Okada the way that Kyle has. He then moves on to Kyle and says that Fletcher is synonymous with the TNT Championship. If you look up the word TNT in the dictionary, there's a picture of Fletcher. And whoever wins between Briscoe and Ciampa on Saturday will have to deal with Fletcher coming for them. Although, again, I think Fletcher can't challenge Briscoe anymore. But I could be wrong. Anyway, it is now time for Davis and Doyle to go out and take home the AEW Tag Team Championships. So Don's going to go make himself a martini and watch them bring those titles home to the family. Don leaves, and Takeshita turns to Fletcher and, in a very disappointed tone, says, "You forgave Okada?" And then he walks away very upset as Kyle's just like, "Oh, no, it's not like that." And then he's just clearly torn and flustered and upset that he's been put in this position between Takeshita and Okada. All right. After that, we went to commercial, came back with a promo package from Jungle Jack Perry, calls out Ricochet and the demand for attacking and then taking out Luchasaurus, saying he's going to take Ricochet's national championship for what he, in exchange for what Ricochet took from him, and that still won't be enough. We then cut from that package to shots earlier in the night of Ricochet and the demand attacking Perry with Kana Leona taking him out for threatening Ricochet and his title, culminating in Kana Leona hitting a double Razor's Edge on Jack through a table. And I believe that national championship match is next week on Dynamite. So I'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. After that, we got to the aforementioned AEW World Tag Team Championship match, which saw FTR take on the newly teamed up Davis and Doyle, which is still so much fun to say. And this was another very hard-hitting match, not surprising considering who was in it. And they made Davis and Doyle look really strong. Friggin' Dax was bleeding from his chest with all the chops he took. And it was good, and I was really enjoying it. But I got to say, this is a very interesting ending because Davis had Dax in a sleeper hold. And as he does so, the Death Riders start to trickle out from the crowd. And it's Moxley, Marina Shafir, and Daniel Garcia. Now, Doyle gets in the ring and tries to go after Cash, and I think Cash sidestepped him or something. So he goes flying out of the ring. And then after he does that, Garcia gets up on the apron and starts distracting referee Paul Turner. And as Turner is distracted, Dax drags Davis close enough to the ropes while still in the sleeper hold for Moxley to just brain Davis with the Continental title. Davis then stumbles back, and eventually he stumbles into Dax, who lifts him up into the Shadow Machine, and FTR are able to retain their championships. Now, Stokely was great on commentary. He was like, there was that whole 18 months or whatever where Jon Moxley was trying to ruin AEW, but never had a problem with it. So he was great there. But this was I don't want to call it a weird way to end it, but it was definitely unexpected. Now, does it make sense? Yes. Moxley essentially sort of just coming after the Don Callis family in general has been a thing over the last couple of weeks. I thought it was going to be more singularly focused on Takeshita and Takeshita trying to get the Continental Championship. But it looks like Moxley is just declaring war on the Don Callis family in general. Now, this could be a shot at Takeshita, by just going after the family, but this seems more broad than just the one man. So I'm curious to see how this continues to play out. I am here for the gang warfare. That is the Death Riders versus the Don Callis family. Death Riders are outnumbered, which is rare, but I think Moxley, who is somebody who continues to want to see AEW at his best, despite his fairly terrible methods of doing so for his entire title reign, I think he must think that the Don Callis family need to be taken care of in order for AEW to continue to thrive and get better. So that's my logic right now. I guess that's what we're going for. They basically, I think they pretty much said that last week on Collision. So let's go, man. Gang warfare is awesome. And if you don't believe me, go watch the Wyatts vs. Shield again. It's a lot of fun. So looking forward to see how that continues to play out. All right, just hitting the last segment here as we went backstage with Orange Cassidy for an interview. And Renee asked him about his continuing and ongoing feud, seemingly never-ending feud with Wheeler Yuta. And Orange says that Yuta is a completely different person from where he was 5 years ago. He says Yuta is completely unrecognizable, from the big bushy beard to the hair that's just a little too long to be cool. And Yuta comes over and interrupts, asking if it's really come to them making insults about each other's appearance. Should he go out and get a Canadian tuxedo, or maybe he should gel back his hair like Orange does? And as he asks that, Marina Shafir steps in, and she must have really hauled ass over from being with Moxley. And she grabs Orange's hair, and Yuta keeps taunting him. Yeah, that hair, like that. And as Marina's continuing to manhandle Orange's hair, we hear off in the distance, "Unhand him!" And Timeless Tony Storm comes in, and the two women go face to face. Marina then says something in what I believe is Romanian. I'm not 100% sure on the language she speaks, but she's from Moldova. And she starts playing with Tony's hair, and Tony's like, "What?" And she's very confused. So Marina then asks Tony if she needs some more milk, or maybe she should go get her girlfriend some more flowers. Tony responds that when they get in between those 4 posts, that Marina is in some deep shit. And then Tony sticks out her hand, and Orange grabs it and twirls her back as security steps in to pull Marina back, with the security and Wheeler just saying it's not worth it. And then Orange and Tony slowly just shimmy away while in their tango pose. So the two of them continues to be hilarious together. The Marina-Tony feud continues to be very interesting. It kind of implied, it seemed like we're going to get another mixed tag with these 4. I don't know if I saw it advertised. That does sound like something could be on Collision. Could be next week. I'm not sure. But this Tony Marina feud is going to culminate in something really good, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that ends. And as for Orange and Wheeler, fight forever, I guess. You've been fighting for 5 years. I guess you're not really going to change that anytime soon. So there you go. And then obviously after that, we had Swerve and Andrade, and then the whole MJF thing. So that was Dynamite. And I thought it was a very good one. I thought this was a good balance between having matches and having segments, as opposed to last week, which was almost all matches. And we were able to advance a lot of storylines by doing both here tonight. We advanced quite far in the AEW Men's World Championship title picture between that opening segment and the final match. And what happens afterwards, Swerve has been essentially eliminated for now from the AEW World title picture, or at least he's going to have to wait his turn behind a couple other guys, namely Brody at the moment, if he can win that Eliminator next week. And then obviously the winner of Kenny and Andrade. So not going to say back in the line for Swerve, but he's definitely got some waiting to do. Good title defense from Kris Statlander. Really excited we finally got that one-on-one match with Thekla. I do wish it was on pay-per-view, but I understand, waiting all the way to Revolution to get another title defense in for her was probably a little too long. So a really good TV title defense. Maybe we get another one. I'm not sure, but I doubt it at this point. And it looks like we already set up possible next challengers for either Statlander or for the tag team champions, with Bane and Forrest stepping out onto the stage after that match. So like I mentioned, a lot of different possibilities there, because they could go for any and all of those titles. Those women have every women's title right now that is in AEW. So, does Bane want to go for the world title? Does she want to go for the TBS? Does Ford want to go for either the singles titles? Do they want to go for the tag titles? A lot of questions to be answered there. And, just overall, a lot of good, interesting stuff and some good matches. I mentioned the Moxley and Don Callis feud continuing to move on. And we had some interesting drama brewing within the Don Callis family itself, with Fletcher and Takeshita really starting to push back against Don and his treatment of Okada. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching me here at the Market Down Podcast. We appreciate it here at the pod. If you'd like to subscribe, if you like the video, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here on the show. And we can continue to do it and strive and get a little better. And you subscribe and get all the great content here on the podcast. We do have normally the Gym Pack Zone on Thursdays for you TNA fans. James is off this week, as you can see, but he will be back next week for that. So be sure to subscribe if you are an Impact fan. Eric and Danny, sometimes Matt, sometimes James, which depends on who pops in. I've been doing a really cool sit-down show called Graps and Grievances, and they've been discussing things more on a more macro scale over there, which has been a lot of fun. So if you want to go talk about some stuff or watch them talk about some stuff that we can't really get into here on the lives after the shows, be sure to check them out as well. And obviously, we'll be back here next week for Dynamite. We will also be attempting at least to cover the Royal Rumble this weekend, but we'll definitely get some content out around that, considering obviously the gravity of the show. And it's at 2 p.m., everybody. So remember that. It is at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So be sure to set your alarms if you're like me and usually don't get up till 3. In terms of other things, if you want to catch us in some social media places, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or Blue Sky. If you're watching here on YouTube, all those links are in the description below. If you're watching over on Facebook or on Twitter, want to follow some other places, Twitter is at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod. YouTube.com/marketdown3665. Marketdownpod.bsky.social. Or just search Marketdown Podcast on any of your social media platforms, and you will be able to find us there. Thank you. You know it. I appreciate it. And Matt, happening with one last comment here as we end the show. Ciampa should have came out to Psycho Killer. I don't know what his indie theme was. Again, that's James's knowledge bank. That might have been his old indie theme. I really liked what he came out to. I thought it fit him perfectly. So really glad to see Ciampa. Can't believe I didn't mention that as, I went through the overall stuff on Dynamite. Really hyped to watch him versus Briscoe on Saturday. All right. So my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching me here at the Market Down Podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, everyone.